My name is John Minto. I'm a council member and the vice mayor for the city of Santee down in San Diego County. And I want to welcome you to the 2015 New Mayors and Council Members Academy here. And I'm really happy to be here today and introducing this session because I really believe in media and social networking and things of that nature. So I will be the moderator. I'll try not to speak too much. Today you'll find your conference materials in the on the internet, or you can go to California City's app and find it there. And if you didn't have that kind of electronic media with you today, there was some hard copies available. Remember that everything that we do here today is going to be evaluated, and that's evaluated by you. In about a week or so, you're going to get an email, and please fill out those surveys and evaluations, because that's how we learn whether or not we were successful here this week. And if there's something that you want to see or you thought that just shouldn't have been part of the presentation. So mobile devices, please make sure that you have those set to vibrate or off or silent so that we don't have any interruptions. As we conclude our speakers, we will allow some time for questions. Today, because we are presenting as a webinar, we have to change in the middle of our speakers today, so we'll take just a moment for the PowerPoint presentation to be changed. So I'll make a second introduction, so I won't do them both at the very beginning, if that's okay with everybody else. And if not, oh well, I don't know what to tell you. So I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Christine Brainerd. Christine Brainerd is a seasoned public affairs official with more than 13 years of experience in public information, public relations, and journalism. So you can write about what you're talking about.
Actually tweeted about it just a minute ago.
Tweeting as we speak. That's the social media part if you didn't catch that. For more than 8 years, Christine has served as the public affairs manager and public information officer for the city of Elk Grove, the second largest city in Sacramento region, and home to more than 160,000 residents. Christine is the primary media spokesperson and community liaison for the city of Elk Grove, which kind of, dovetails into what was presented last session about who is a speaker. Many times it's a public relations officer. Christine worked at 2 Sacramento public relations firms where she managed national and statewide social marketing programs and my social beat is not working. And public firms where she managed national and statewide social marketing programs and public relations campaigns. Christine's career started in journalism. She has written for the Sacramento News and Review and worked on the assignment desk at KTXL TV Fox 40 News. Christine is currently the Northern California Director of the California Association of Public Information Officials. Her work has received more than 60 awards from the Sacramento Public Relations Association, California Association of Public Information Officials, International Association of Business Communications, or IABC, and Sacramento Ad Club. Christine holds a bachelor's degree in communication studies with an emphasis in public relations from California State University, Sacramento. She recently received an accreditation in public relations from the Public Relations Society of America, Universal Accreditation Board. Ladies and gentlemen, Christine.
Hi, thanks so much for having me today. I'm excited to talk to you all about social media trends. As it was mentioned, I've been with the city of Elk Grove for 9 years, handling the media relations and communications social media programs for the city. And next week, I will be starting a new position with the city of Folsom as their communications manager, also in Sacramento County, but 5 minutes from my home and allowing me to work and live in the same community, which I'm really excited about. So as a PIO, on a day-to-day basis, I handle the media interviews for the city. I handle social media posts, press releases, newsletters, and also coordinate with our council members and our mayor on a daily basis for ribbon cuttings, grand openings, draft talking points and speeches, and coordinate special appearances. So while I've been on the job for 9 years and in the industry in general for about 15 years, there have been major ways in which cities are communicating news and information and major differences in the way traditional outlets are covering news and information. It's funny, if I were here about 7, 10 years ago, I would have been probably talking to you guys about how to pitch your news story and get good coverage in your newspaper. And now times have drastically changed, and we have this entirely new toolbox to communicate with residents that we're going to be talking about today. So every city has a major impact on its community, and every city has a story to share, whether it's public safety updates or public works projects. The work that cities are doing have a major impact on the community. It could be as big as a multi-million-dollar interchange that's relieving traffic on your roads, or it could be something as simple as the local trash collector who waves at the anxious toddler on trash pickup day. Every story has a meaningful impact in a story and a message to share, and that's really your role as mayors and council members. The community really wants to hear from you most, first and foremost, as well as reporters. They'll deal with us PIO types if they have to, but they really want to hear from you when you're on the front line. And so you really have a unique and powerful way to reach communities with your news and information about your city. So I hope today that you're going to take home some valuable information about some of the new technologies available. And Brian? Okay, so here are a few things that we're going to be talking about: the evolving media landscape, media and social media trends, social media benefits and challenges, making social media work for your city, social media policies, online reputation management, and some best practices. And then after that, I'll turn it over to Franco Vieto, the Assistant City Manager with the City of Santa Clarita. Santa Clarita has some of the best communications programs in the state, so he'll have a lot of good take-home tips for you as well. So we're in an entirely different era of communications, with information traveling faster and reaching more people than ever before. The internet has completely changed the way in which we work, the way we communicate, and the way we govern. And new social media tools that emerge daily are changing the way we communicate as well. We're in a world where everybody is now a journalist and a photographer and videographer, posting information that's important to them on their newsfeed and reaching hundreds of people. And as a city, we're relying a lot less on traditional media to get information out and leaning more on social media so that we can get information out to our residents directly and without a filter, without having to deal with a media spin. We can communicate directly. So when I talk about new media, I'm referring to social media like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and we'll go into that later. And when I'm talking about traditional media, I'm referring to newspapers and TV stations. So the old way. Traditional media had a monopoly on news creation and news distribution. As a communications professional, about 10 years ago, we would issue a press release and keep our fingers crossed that the media would cover it. We'd call our reporter contacts, and hopefully if the news coverage was good, and it'd be a good day at the City Hall. But oftentimes that wasn't the case, and we didn't always get the coverage. And it always felt like such a missed opportunity, because the community wasn't learning about the new programs and services or amenities that our city were offering. And so fast forward to today, and there's an entirely new way to communicate. Obviously, we still really love getting positive headlines and stories about our city, but we're relying a lot less on traditional media to be a conduit to our residents, and we have more tools. And on the bright side, those tools are plentiful, they're portable, cheap, accessible, and easy to use. So I wanted to give you a quick snapshot about media trends today. Right now, 6 in 10 Americans get their news online on a typical day, and 9 out of 10 are using multiple platforms. So the days of reading the newspaper before you went to work are completely over. People read the paper in the morning, they listen to the radio on their drive-in, plug into CNN when they're at work, getting Google News alerts, checking Facebook feeds, watching TV news at night. So multiple platforms are now being used. For the first time, the internet has surpassed television as the main source of news for people under the age of 30, and about 3/4 of adults are using social media. And traditional media is far from obsolete, but it is definitely changing, and traditional newsrooms are hurting. Newspapers were very slow to adapt to the online world and new media. They didn't move online soon enough, and they rely on a revenue model of advertising that simply doesn't work anymore with online advertising. TV still does remain the top source of news, but it's down sharply from about a decade ago. Newspaper circulations have been falling sharply over the past decade, and have fallen about 40%, advertising revenues have fallen about 40% over the past 5 years. And I've heard it said before that the folks who deliver the newspaper complain that the Monday edition doesn't have enough throw weight to even make it to the porch. So, also interesting though is online publications are adding journalists. So you'll see more from the Huffington Post or Bloomberg or Yahoo News. Local government has been quick to embrace social media as well. According to a recent ICMA study, 80% of local governments are using social media. 84% of respondents use a smartphone. 88% access apps. About half access the internet more than 5 times a day through their smartphone. But still a strong majority of respondents did prefer the printed edition. So we really are starting to use more of a hybrid model, a blended model of traditional and new social media tools. So who are social media users? And this is my last page of stats. But basically everybody. Facebook, 1.23 billion users. Twitter, 284 million users. YouTube, 1 billion monthly users. And Instagram, 200 million monthly users. A few fun facts I wanted to share with you. If Facebook were a country, it would be the world's 3rd largest country, bigger than the US and Indonesia. More people in the world own a mobile device than they own a toothbrush. And and believe it or not, selfie is now an actual word in the Webster's dictionary. Communications in a new era. So the bottom line is that communications is going to increasingly require social media. It's no longer considered a fad or a trend, but it's a fundamental shift in the way we communicate as individuals and as organizations and cities. It's not to say that traditional media is obsolete or that you should put all your eggs in a social media basket. Really is that blended, integrated approach that I talked about, and it should be a key component of a multifaceted communications program. You know, we still really like to see positive coverage in the newspaper and traditional outlets. And the things that people talk about on Facebook and Twitter didn't come out of thin air. A lot of times that on the traditional post, the newspaper and TV coverage is what drives what we're talking about today, whether it's in person or on social media. Facebook is kind of seen like the new refrigerator wall, where you have like photos and news clippings, but a lot of that does come from traditional press. Blogs rely on traditional press to get their information. Traditional media typically breaks news and covers breaking news stories. And what's nice with the blend of social media and traditional is that, especially with TV news, you hear if it bleeds, it leads. But with social media, people are 30% more likely to share positive news stories than they are a negative news story. So that is that hybrid approach. So, social media. Can I see a show of hands who is on social media here personally? Okay, so it looks like you're part of the 1.23 billion people. What did you say? So, and if you're using social media personally, it's really easy to start using it more professionally. As you know, the tools are intuitive, they're easy to use, they're easy to get the hang of. And more council members and mayors are using social media to connect with residents and to share information from their city. So just some examples of how cities are using social media. We've been using social media for public safety announcements like Amber Alerts or in the event of a crisis. What's been helpful is that when there has been a crisis in the past, we relied on the press to get that information out. A lot of times they didn't get it correct. They didn't get the information out correctly, and there was bad information out there. And now with social media, we get to be the primary spokesperson and the trusted news source for our city, which goes a long way. So even reporters start going to our social media feeds for news and information in a crisis. You could promote local businesses. This tends to generate a lot of positive feedback. People like to hear about the new businesses and restaurants coming to their town. I know that I can post something about the city balancing a $50 million budget, and it gets some likes and shares, and people like to know we're being fiscally responsible. But if I put information out about the home of the 7-pound burrito is coming to the city, and then we'll get hundreds of likes and shares, so people's priorities. But I think you're somebody's tweeting, texting. But people tend to like to hear about the local businesses coming to the city. They also like to know that you're working on economic development goals and you're bringing high-quality businesses to the city. You can tweet or post updates in real time at city council meetings. If there's a high-profile item that you're talking about or voting on, or a new resolution, or maybe a change in the city council, you could report that in real time. It's a good way to update on services, programs, traffic and transit alerts. You can post questions and get information back and feedback back in real time, and that's been very effective, and it puts that friendly face on City Hall and makes you appear responsive to your residents. Our mayor has posted, we're considering banning smoking in parks. What do you think? And people are able to share that feedback in real time, and I think it helps promote that transparency and that two-way communication with residents. You could post external links to your city, so post articles that ran in your local paper on the local TV station, because that helps position you as a local news source in your community, but it also helps develop that relationship with those news outlets, because you're also driving traffic to their websites as well. So it's mutually beneficial. I also suggest posting information from your local community partners. Say the Chamber of Commerce is hosting their annual golf tournament. When you post that down the road, when you need the Chamber to help get information out to the business community, maybe you have a new economic development incentive program, they'll be more likely to share your information as well. So it goes both ways. It also helps to have contests every once in a while just to keep things fun and light. With Valentine's Day coming, you could say something like, it's Valentine's Day, tell us why you love our city. And you'll get dozens and dozens of comments from the community, and it's a good way to engage and connect. So while there's a lot of benefits to using social media in your city, there are a host of challenges as well. What we're finding is that laypersons are becoming trusted sources of information in your community. There's an emergence of blogs and community journalists who don't always adhere to the same code of ethics that a traditional reporter would adhere to. Some of them have good intentions, but they're amateurs, and some of them, frankly, have an axe to grind against an individual or an organization. But they still influence public opinion whether we like it or not. Rumors, gossip, and negativity. Social media sites have been considered the wild, wild west. There's not a set of rules or guidelines, and people tend to be very malicious when they can hide behind a screen name, and they would say things online that they wouldn't necessarily say at a city council meeting. So this can quickly spread negativity, rumors, or gossip, and sometimes online character assassinations can take place. A reminder too, you're always on the record, so you have to stay on your feet. So you could have somebody taking your photo or recording you at any moment. And we've found that in Elk Grove. There was one community journalist who was recording us. It was like a pancake breakfast, and we're flipping pancakes, and that ended up on YouTube before we were even back at our desk. And we didn't even know who this person was. Figured it out later, and it took a while, but it just was a reminder that you always have to be on your toes. And it's been said in this day and age that what happens in Vegas now stays on YouTube, Facebook, Flickr, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So stay on your toes. Time management, it can be time consuming, and it almost could be a full-time job just to respond to all the posts. I get asked all the time how long it takes to manage a social media page. I spend maybe 15 minutes, 3 increments of 15 minutes per day updating and responding to questions. As much as possible, I try to direct some of the questions, especially the more complex questions, offline. Some of that has to do with public records requests and records retention policies that our city has. But it also simplifies things for you as well. So if somebody emailed or posted on your Facebook feed, what's the status of your sphere of influence application, you could say instead of going into a long, complex answer, you could say, that's a great question. Our planning department will be happy to help. Here's how you want to reach them. So it takes some of those more complex questions offline and frees up some of your time. And then also First Amendment issues. While you can control what you're saying on social media, you can't and probably shouldn't try to change what other people are saying, and there are some First Amendment issues there. The interactive capabilities of social media can sometimes be a double-edged sword because, as you know, people aren't always saying what you want them to. But the benefits of social media greatly outweigh those challenges. It helps engage and connect with your audiences. You put a name and a face to City Hall, which is sometimes seen as a nameless and faceless entity. So you really help put a face and a voice to the city. It promotes that two-way conversation, and it does promote transparency. When your audiences and residents and business community members see what you're doing during the day, they feel like they know you and they trust you when you appear to be an open book. It also lets you get that feedback in real time and have a real-time dialogue with your residents. You can also nip rumors in the bud if you stay on top of social media. And the other benefit is that it's pretty inexpensive. It's free for individuals. Cities are now exploring using social media and paying for advertisements, which we have found effective. But as individuals, it's free. So here's some tips for using social media in your community. I missed that. Okay. Put the social in social media. It's designed to be social. And conversational. That's what residents respond to. It's what they expect when they're on social media platforms. You would want to share updates the way that you would with a family member. You would want to be friendly and conversational and less like a press release and more just the way you would talk to a friend or a neighbor. Be responsive and relevant. With the rapid speed of communications these days, it's important to react and respond promptly. It builds trust, and not responding does send a message at times that inquiry or that comment wasn't important. It does put a face and a voice for your city. People feel like they know you and trust you as well as your staff. It's important to sound authentic and to sound like you. And avoid sounding too scripted or like something that a PIO would write, but try to keep it conversational. An example would be, say there was a slurry seal project in your city. You could say, if you said, city slurry seal project underway will require nighttime closures, not very enticing. But if you said 18 miles of our streets are going to be resurfaced this fall, may require some nighttime road work, that would be much more likely to engage and bring somebody in. So try to talk and post things that are conversational and sound like how you are when you're talking. Keep in mind, too, that most of your audiences are thinking, what's in it for me? So they want to hear the work that the city is doing that improves the quality of life in their community. So it could be a road widening or what you're doing to relieve traffic, new streetlights that are going to be replaced that are brighter and make their neighborhood feel safer. A new ordinance that reduces graffiti, or a new restaurant that's coming to town. I would avoid you talking about highly specialized topics, especially when you're making regular updates on those. So in our city, as much as our Public Works Department is really enthused about the storm drain master plan updates, social media might not be the best way to talk about all those updates. So I hate to break it to them, but. Our mayor has been very effective with social media. He has a nice blend of personal and professional. He'll post something about crime stats in our city and how crime's going down, or he'll talk about maybe new health care that's coming to the city. But then at the same time, he'll post pictures of his kids carving pumpkins or pictures from the soccer game. And it does put that personal feel to it, and people feel like they trust him and they know what he's up to, whether he's at home or work. And I think that does promote that transparency. I want to show some effective social media examples of those conversational yet still informative posts. City of Vacaville said, okay, before we get too excited about all the rainfall and the impact of the drought, before we get too excited about all the rainfall and its impact on the drought, looks like we're still in need of 11 trillion, with a T, gallons of water. We're not experts, but that sounds like a lot. City of West Hollywood said, be safe out there tonight, folks. Don't drink and drive. Our holiday shuttle is available on Sunset Strip. Have a safe and prosperous New Year. Livermore Livermore takes styrofoam off the menu. As of July 1st, the city's styrofoam ban on to-go containers takes effect. Palo Alto said the city manager and staff drop, cover, and hold on during the Great California Shakeout on October 20th with a photo. of their city manager. And then shameless self-promotion. City of Elk Grove, miles of beautiful Elk Grove trails, plus sunny, mild weather ahead equals the perfect way to keep up with that resolution. So they're just friendly and conversational and light. So it's important to you as new mayors and council members that you talk to your city and get to know what their social media policies are. Many, as I mentioned earlier, many cities are using social media, and many of them have social media policies, both internal ones for their staff and external. The internal ones dictate which staff members, what they can and cannot post, who's authorized to speak on behalf of the city. And then the external ones are how do you handle comments from the public, what can be removed, what can't be removed. I would highly recommend that you meet with your city clerk and talk about records retention policies, Public Records Act requests, because that does tend to, you do tend to get questions through social media. So, and I know every city handles those differently. And also talk to your city attorney as well about First Amendment matters and Brown Act concerns, because there have been issues in some cities where there were boards or commissions that were talking about how they were going to vote on something through social media, and it could be a Brown Act violation. So the League of California Cities has great resources on their website. They've been very helpful with our city as well with getting social media pages set up, best practices. They also have sample social media policies that have worked in other communities. So I highly recommend that you check out their website and contact them if you need assistance, because they've been a great resource for many cities throughout the state. So thank you so much for your time, and I'm going to turn it over to Frank Oviedo.
Thank you very much. That's a great lesson. As a matter of fact, thanks for teaching me that my iPad actually rings when my phone does. I never knew that would happen. Otherwise, I turn that off too. Ready, Brian? At this time, I'd like to introduce Frank Oviedo. Frank Oviedo is the Assistant City Manager of the City of Santa Clarita. Prior to coming to Santa Clarita, Frank served as City Manager of Wildomar in Riverside County. In his 4 years with the City of Wildomar, he successfully balanced 3 consecutive budgets. Holy moly, good job. It was during the recession. That figures. He developed the city's first comprehensive economic development work plan, helped secure millions in grants funds for transit, negotiated the city's solid waste contracts, worked with the City Council to develop a plan to support the city's future infrastructure needs, and implemented an economic development roundtable to develop a strategy for long-term community sustainability, among other things. In the late 1990s, Frank worked for the City of Santa Clarita in the Finance and Parks and Recreation departments, where he learned the Santa Clarita way of effectively and efficiently managing the city. He brought Santa Clarita's philosophy. They yielded a high level of customer service and satisfaction to subsequent jobs, while gaining experience as a manager in the public sector. In 2013, Frank was delighted to return to the Assistant City Manager for the Los Angeles County's 3rd largest city. Mr. Oviedo received his BA from Fresno State University, go Bulldogs, and his MPA from Arizona State University School of Public Affairs. He has served on several municipal boards and guest lectured at numerous universities. In addition, all of his work and accomplishments, he is a world traveler, husband, and father too. Frank?
I'm sometimes surprised at my own bio. What I want to talk to you about today, and kind of the essence of my presentation, is Christine kind of started at a much higher level and started to come down to a more granular level. And what I want to do is share with you the way we do social media in the city of Santa Clarita, and give you some practical ideas about how you might do that. And just know, this is the way we do it. This is our perspective in Santa Clarita, but you know, we're a much larger city. This can be scaled to any size city, small city, medium-sized city, or even a large city. So don't take exactly what we're doing and say, oh, we can't do that, or that's not what we want to do. This is all scalable to whatever it is that you are interested in doing. So All of us here today come from very different backgrounds and very different cities, but every one of you here today shares something in common. And when you ask elected officials why they ran for office, kind of the common theme that you'll hear pretty regularly is to make a difference in your community. Social media helps cities achieve that mission. It can help us share information. You heard some of this from Christine, promote activities, spark civic engagement. That's really what the essence of this is about. With more people than ever before, it's that exponential effect, that multiplier effect that social media brings. It's the quickest, cheapest, and most transparent way to communicate and interact with our residents. And you're going to hear me talk about this idea of branding. Each city has its own unique culture. Every city does. The culture is your brand. It's who you are. It's different in everyone's case. The word brand gets thrown around a lot, but what it comes down to is simple. Your brand is who you are and who you really want to be as a city. Cities all have brands. Paris is romance, Milan is style, New York is energy, Nashville is music, Washington is power, Palo Alto, there's another shout out to Palo Alto if anybody from Palo Alto is here. Palo Alto is innovation, Rio is fun, Athens is history. Each of these cities has a brand that speaks to who they are and and what they offer. Your city has a brand too. I grew up in the Central Valley, in the Clovis, city of Clovis. Anybody from city of Clovis here? There you go. City of Clovis has, their brand is cowboys. That's what I grew up with. There's a rodeo there that's been around for 100 years. So everybody has their brand. Social media offers vital ways to connect with citizens and show your city's personality, priorities, and your policies. Most of all, it allows you to show your promise. What is it you're promising to the public and how you're keeping that promise? For example, think about what you offer to those who live, work, and stay in your city. So here are a few examples. And I'm going to borrow from some other cities as well. We use social media to show our brand of the city. We pride ourselves in being family-oriented, safe, and business-friendly, and striking a balance between progress and preservation. Our social media posts help communicate that. So all the information we push out goes back to that idea that we're family-friendly, we're business-friendly. As you can see in Palo Alto's case, they're branding their family-friendly community as well. And with the city of San Diego, they're taking a little bit more of a legalistic approach. So they're talking about water restrictions. Think of what you promise as a city. Social media provides a way for you to show how you're keeping that promise by communicating on all these various platforms. You can help humanize your city, and you've kind of heard that theme, personalizing it, that Christine even talked about. You create a connection with residents, you build accountability, and then you'll hear this theme often as well, you're going to build trust, and I'll show you how that manifests itself here in a few slides. Now, I noticed that everybody personally, when Christine asked about how many use social media, pretty much everybody did. But there are still some cities that, have fear, and even those that are using it still have some fear of what it is. So let's just get this out of the way. Many government entities have a fear of social media. They might think social media is a passing trend. As you can see from Christine's presentation, it's not a passing trend. It's a new paradigm of how we communicate. It's something that they can't control. That's another fear. Or ways to, it invites negativity. That's another concern. And the reality is, it's all those things. But by getting caught up in the what ifs, you lose the opportunity to really engage with your community. Social media allows cities the flexibility to reach out to the public with a positive message. You can control that message, and that's the important thing. Rather than just reacting to concerns from residents and the media, it helps you effectively communicate that you are proactive, transparent, accountable, and reachable. Together, these help build that idea of trust. Simply put, by using social media in local government, you can more effectively bring government to the people, and that's what the advantage of using it. So let's look at how we use it in Santa Clarita and how kind of where the rubber really hits the road. Here's a slide that shows analytics that will let you know how many people are viewing your post, how your posts are doing, and the level of engagement. Here's a month's worth of analytics in the city of Santa Clarita. And what it is you can see where people are moving throughout your website. You can see where they're clicking over to, how they're actually using it. And what it is kind of your own personal Nielsen rating. You can go and analyze this and kind of see what is it that the community is interested on a day-to-day basis, hour by hour, quite frankly, on a minute-by-minute basis, because this is constantly being updated if you're actively updating all your platforms. So let me give you an example. In 2010, Facebook sent out a message to about 600,000 users. This message, which you see here, encouraged people to vote with a link to local polling places, a clickable I voted button, and a live tally of people who had clicked the I voted button. Additionally, about 60 million more Facebook users received a message that showed them 6 of their friends who had clicked the I voted button. If this sounds like peer pressure, it actually is. And it worked, because the experiment, about an estimated 340,000 extra people turned out to vote in the 2010 U.S. congressional election. So you can see, just by a simple click of a button, posting something on Facebook has this effect, this exponential effect of multiplying how many people will actually see something on your Facebook site. And this experiment hit right at the heart of what's happening culturally in America. We want to share our personal views on a variety of topics, including government. And many of us do this through social media. Cities have a real opportunity to get their voice heard and interact with the community. And they can do it with the click of just a simple, click of a mouse. You can push information. So, and this is this slide really is demonstrating kind of how this is trending. And really, contrary to popular belief, it's not just kids using social media anymore. It's actually getting older. More than half Americans ages 45 to 54 have a profile on some social network site, and just by the show of hands, you can see the numbers there. And in fact, in Santa Clarita, and we'll get into how we analyze things in Santa Clarita, the majority of our 7,000 plus Facebook followers are between the ages of 35 and 54. So you can see you're looking at a little bit older group. And what this is showing is the active usage is growing fastest among older groups. So what you're seeing is the older demographic group is actually signing up. The youngsters are figuring out the next platforms out there, and they're signing up on whatever else. Pretty soon, Facebook was a very young thing to do. Now it's, older demographic that's using Facebook. Twitter will probably end up the same thing, and, they'll come up with whatever the next platform is going to be. So here's a recent example of how we use social media to communicate to our residents. Construction projects can really impact residents' daily lives. Everybody knows this in their cities. It may be why you even ran for office. Although they improve quality of life in the long run, they can cause clearly a lot of frustration in the short term because of traffic delays and the like. We use Facebook to, one, thank residents for their patience during the roadway improvement project. We also showed the before and afters, what you see here, the impact of the project. So we don't just want to tell you that this is going on, but we want to actually show you the benefit of tax dollars being spent in your community, so you get to see the before and after photographs. And one day, this post reached 4,500 people in Santa Clarita and generated 13 responses. And I can tell you that, yes, there's some positive responses here. You see, beautiful, love to see my wonderful city improvements. Some of them are negative, but that's okay too, because it starts a conversation, as Christine said. You're constantly getting feedback on a minute-by-minute basis. So oftentimes we'll get feedback from our communications manager saying, hey, people are posting a few negative things about a project that we have across town. What that does is tells the city manager, the public works director, myself, if we're out and about in the community, we'll get in our cars and drive out there and say, oh, you know what, the coning pattern does look a little strange, and it does look like it's causing some traffic disruption. So it gives us an opportunity to make one phone call to a traffic engineer or the project manager, and they can make the adjustments, and all that happens in split seconds. We're doing that minute by minute, hour by hour. Whereas in the past, you would wait for a phone call or perhaps a council meeting the next Tuesday, and somebody would come to the council meeting. Everything is happening instantaneously now. So that's why we want to be able to post all those things and then show the results after they're done. And it's really a transparent way of doing business. A top priority of any government agency should be transparency, and you've probably heard that during this Academy sessions. That means doing things in the light of day, in a public forum, and there's really nothing more public than a social media platform. And at minimum, no one could ever accuse you of not sharing information with the public because you're constantly posting information about what you're doing and when you're doing it and how you're doing it. In Santa Clarita, we also use social media as a way to gather feedback from residents and solve problems. Here are a few examples of how social media can be used to give residents real-time updates, address issues, and respond to individual issues as well. So in terms of seeking feedback, social media was an important tool that we used for our recent public opinion poll. This biennial poll that we do seeks to find out how residents rate the city's performance, learn areas where improvements is needed, and understand the amenities residents want to see most. So feedback from residents is very crucial to how we do business in Santa Clarita. We're constantly wanting to know where we can improve. We used Facebook and Twitter to tell residents about the survey and solicit their feedback. As a result, we were able to reach more than 15,000 local residents to encourage them to take the survey. So it's a new way of telling people, hey, this is going on, please take this survey, and we can push out information very, very quickly. So, you know, what is the result of that? And we believe that this is the result of that. By reaching out to request feedback from residents, you can help strengthen residents' trust in the city. If you're asking the residents for what they want to see, getting that feedback, they know that you're at least listening to them, and that's where that trust really starts. The city, Santa Clarita's recent public opinion poll showed that nearly 80% of residents trusted the city of Santa Clarita higher than any other level of government. We attribute this to our continued interaction with residents and high level of customer service, including our regular use of social media. So if you can see here, the federal government, they were almost the lowest. State of California, the County of Los Angeles, and then you see locally in the city of Santa Clarita, we were as high as 80%. When you asked if this was a scientifically done poll, statistically valid, 5% plus or minus, and this is what the result was of this past year. And I think it was I just came back to Santa Clarita in the last 2 years, but it's the highest trust level that we've measured since we've been polling in our city. So here's an example of how we use social media to show residents how we get things done. This is our weekly On the Job series, which we feature on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Each week we spotlight a different city staff at work, or as we say, #OnTheJob. We featured everyone from public works staff working in the rain with this recent rain event, to library staff during story time, reading stories to children. It's a great way to boost employee morale and shows residents that their tax dollars, it shows their tax dollars at work, literally. You know, we're putting our employees out there. And it's a great thing for the organization, and it's a great thing for the community to see that the city is out there actively fixing roads, reading to kids. The picture at the lower center is our new incubator that we just opened a few months ago. So we're constantly pushing out information about what the city is doing, and we're not waiting for press releases because that's, you know, we don't do that. That's still kind of the blended way of doing it, but we can get this out to more people quicker than we can get a press release out that a story will be written in a local paper. This will be on somebody's smartphone within minutes once we post it. If somebody doesn't post it first, that's actually at one of these, you know, out in the street. So, but in this case, we can control it. So social media sparks engagement. Social pressure is the new peer pressure, quite frankly, as you could see from the I voted, the Facebook message. For example, Facebook conducted a long-range study from 2010 to 2012 and found that people were more likely to vote if they saw others voting on social media. We can harness this social pressure for good to get people to participate in more in their communities. So here are a few examples. We're building a new community center in one of our neighborhoods. In addition to hosting public workshops, we also posted a survey online where residents could tell us what they wanted to see most in their community center. Through Facebook and Twitter, we reached 11,000 residents and generated more than 700 clicks over to the survey so they could fill it out and tell us what they want to see in the community, the new community center that we're planning. So, you know, when I saw those numbers initially when they first came in, I thought to myself, I don't remember the last time I went to a public meeting for input and 700 people showed up to give input. So here's an opportunity. You can see the numbers speak for themselves. 700 people chimed in on what they want to see at their community center in their city. And that was wholly done through social media. We've also been able to increase volunteers and attendance at city workshops and events through social media as well. Last year, we wanted to boost attendance at one of our annual Youth, Sports, and Healthy Families Festival. In the weeks leading up to the festival, we promoted the event on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and YouTube. Each post showed a different offering that would be available at the festival. So we kind of wanted to show all the different offerings on different platforms so we could reach even further into the community as much as we could. As a result, we increased attendance for this past year's event over last year's by 1,000 residents. Like, that's not by accident. That was by clearly going out there and trying to get people to see what this event is and all that it had to offer. So here are a few examples from other cities. So if some of you are in the audience, I'll be showing some of your other cities as well. In Fremont, they use social media to share progress on their community outreach for the revitalized downtown by posting a clever photo of building demolition. So you post that and people know, oh, that's right, they're doing those improvements downtown, and look, they're already demoing one of the buildings downtown. The city of San Jose used Facebook to share an innovative community recycling program. City of Riverside used this to engage in a youth mentoring program. So you can see cities use these platforms in very different ways. By engaging residents through social media, cities can increase community participation and civic engagement, which helps you make decisions that shape your city for the better. So this is how personal you can make social media, and here's examples of how we use it in Santa Clarita. We have the power to get personal. That's because you can engage directly with residents and target posts to reach specific groups. In 2014 study by Economic Journal showed that voters are still most persuaded by personal contact. You can't go door to door every day, but you can post on these social platforms on a daily basis. You can use social media to directly address concerns from residents, answer questions, and direct them to staffers who can actually help them. So in terms of specific targeting, Facebook allows you to share posts with people who most want to see them. So for example, say you want to reach out to Spanish speakers in your community. You can write a post in Spanish and have it just go to the Spanish speakers who follow you on Facebook, because that's a preference when you sign up to get a Facebook account. That's a preference you have. And so now we have the ability to just push that out to just the Spanish speakers in our community. Or say you want to host a free event for families, and one of the things that Facebook is constantly tracking is what you like. And if you use your Facebook accounts, you see that oftentimes you'll see these ads that will show up that kind of coincide with some of the things that you like. Well, we can use that from the city side, because say if it's for something we want to push out on just for families, well, we can work with that and see how many people are kind of in that circle of liking things that are very family oriented, and then push it just to those residents themselves. Or say you want to do there's a local author that's at one of your libraries. People that have maybe liked his or her Facebook page, we can direct that notice just to those residents alone. So you can really get it down to a granular level where you can actually push messages just to the people you want to push it to, if you want to get that specific. And then another interesting way of doing it is you can target by location or zip code. You can actually get down to, in our case, we have 4 distinct communities within the larger city. We have Valencia, Canyon Country, Saugus, and U-Haul. And if we're doing something, the community center is in the Canyon Country part of the city. So we can actually do something very local with a zip code and just push out information through some of our platforms with that alone. So that's how specific we can get. It allows you to interact with residents in real time and doesn't cost you anything. You can set up an account on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Those are all free to those that are just using it. So the question is, which one is right for you? Facebook and Twitter are the most commonly used platforms by local government right now. However, other social platforms like Instagram and YouTube can really help you tell a much richer story, more engaging story. The City of Santa Clarita operates social media platforms that include Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Flickr, Vine, and we do have some mobile apps as well. So let's look at some of these platforms to help you determine which might be right for your city. And Christine covered some of this as well, but Facebook is the most widely used social networking platform in the world. Facebook helps cities connect with residents, provide information about services and projects, local events and regulations that are being changed. This is a place where you can tell your story of your city. It's also a forum to engage in dialogue with residents, garner feedback, strengthen relationships within the community. And just to give you some perspective on the numbers that we have currently, as of yesterday, 7,678 people that follow us in the city of Santa Clarita. It's also a place where you can brag a little bit. As a newly elected mayor or council member, you want to tell your city's story, and bragging about your city is one way to do that. And we don't have any problem with that in Santa Clarita, because we like people to know that we're working hard on their behalf, and in many cases we are winning awards. You can also share stories of awards, recognitions your city received to promote community pride. For example, parenting.com, this just happened within the last couple of months, recently named City of Santa Clarita the #3 safest city in America for families. We shared that story on a majority of our social media platforms. This time we wanted to, and Christine talked about this, so here's an example. This time we wanted to reach out to an even wider audience. So we paid $50 to boost that post and reach more people. As a result, this post reached nearly 17,000 people in the greater Los Angeles County area. By comparison, a small 2-inch ad in the LA Daily News cost about $250. So one reached 17,000, it was very specific, it showed up on people's phones as they were checking their different accounts, versus a 2-inch ad in the LA Daily News that may or may not be looked at depending on where it's placed. And we saved money and reached more people. And from an economic development standpoint, we want people coming to the city. We want people to know that it's safe for families. We're pushing that. It goes back to that idea of branding our city. We want people to know that we're a family-friendly city. So that's how we do it. We push those messages out on a pretty regular basis. So on Twitter, Twitter is one of the most frequented social media networks in existence today. It's designed to instantly connect users to what's most important to them. It's one of the quickest, easiest methods to broadcast information to an expansive audience. The majority of Twitter users are between the ages of 18 and 29. So now you've got a younger demographic that you can go after to push messages out, which allows cities to connect with a slightly younger portion of their population. And here are some tips for using Twitter. Follow other cities, community partners, you heard some of that, local businesses and news outlets. Share quick news updates and emergency alerts, which is important for California because we have, earthquakes, and nobody in the state of California is immune from emergencies. So it's important to be able to use some of these platforms for even that as well. Share relevant local news. You can do lighthearted items like Today in History, things happening around town, staff spotlights. You want to engage your community, engage, answer questions, ask questions, share stories about the city, and interact with other residents. And because Twitter's audience is younger, they want instant interaction. This is a generation of instant gratification. That's why being responsive and engaging is important. If you do decide to use that platform, you've got to use it all the time. Because if somebody has an account and they never see anything posted, they'll stop paying attention to it. So you really have to be active about putting things on Twitter. As far as YouTube, YouTube is a popular platform used to upload, view, and share videos. Here's some more statistics. More than 2 billion videos are viewed every single day on YouTube, with more than 35 hours of video uploaded every single minute. Videos are the best way to communicate complex messages, involve the community in events, use YouTube to share videos at community events and other local things. We've actually used YouTube. We have training videos on YouTube. If somebody wants to apply for permit, we have our folks in our building office that actually have done videos to show people how to do that. So we use it for instructional purposes as well for businesses. And so the city of Santa Clarita, our channel, we have nearly 400 videos. We have, as of yesterday, 403 subscribers. And since we started using YouTube, we have had 212,000 views. So we do have people regularly go and look at our YouTube videos. And then Instagram, it's becoming an increasingly powerful platform. What started kind of as a, excuse me, as a photo sharing app is now a social network that has 150 million active users and 7.3 million daily users worldwide. And, that's a lot of people looking at a lot of pictures. And so, there's another opportunity to brand your city, show what your city's about. So in the world where the public sector has a reputation of falling behind, you get an Instagram, account, people start thinking, your city's a little bit hipper than even a private company. So that's one of the things that we do. There are really no rules to Instagram, but here are a few simple guidelines that we use. Show off what makes you, you. Pictures, like I said, in the city of Clovis back there, images of cowboys, whatever it is that makes your city, whatever your city brand is. Share the photos, speak to who your city is. For the city of Santa Clarita's Instagram, it's photos of the outdoors, our trails, our landscapes, and a lot of our family events. Spotlight employees, I shared with you on the job. We like to show a lot of pictures of what our employees are doing on a daily basis. And then something you heard earlier was have fun with. This is your, have fun. This is your chance to tell the visual story of your city. Your residents are on Instagram to see great photos, so deliver them. You know, put that out there so they can see what you're doing. And then in closing, social media is not a trend, clearly. It's a new paradigm of how we get our information. And it's a critical shift that has transformed the way governments think, plan, and carry out our policies. This includes using open, transparent tools to increase collaboration and participation with constituents and to build trust, quite frankly. And that's what we've been able to do. You were elected to make things happen in your community. Social media is a tool to help make that happen. And hopefully we'll be able to demonstrate how we use it in Santa Clarita, maybe spark some ideas how you might be able to use it in your city. So thank you.